Joining me now is Kara Eastman. She ran for Congress in Nebraska's 2nd District, and she's a Just Democrat. She ran without corporate PAC money. Kara, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. So, Kara, you ran a great race, a really close race, and you wound up losing in Nebraska's 2nd District, which is a red district. And so I want to go over some numbers with you, and then I want to talk about lessons learned from the race. First of all, what was the margin of victory for your opponent?
About 3%.
3%, okay. What has been the margin of victory for Republicans in that district before?
It's been between maybe 1% and 2%, or closer to 2%, but what we found was that for the past 2 cycles, there has been a third-party candidate that has pulled votes away from Republicans because they've been libertarian candidates. So I think actually the spread would probably have been larger for those candidates had the third-party candidate not been in.
Okay, and it seems like you guys did something interesting. You looked at the vote count for other Democrats in Nebraska's 2nd District. Do you know about this?
Yes, yeah.
So what did you guys find?
Well, we found that actually I outperformed some of one of the moderate Democrats that was running for Senate, and then came almost neck and neck with the Republican turned Democrat candidate for governor. So really performing, this narrative that somebody like me, somebody running on a progressive platform, can't perform well in a place like Nebraska, I think that narrative has been proven false.
So, Kara, let me get this right. People went to vote in your district, and 3,000 of them voted for you, but did not vote for the Democratic candidate in the Senate in that same district.
Correct.
I think that's very telling. It was supposed to be that the moderate candidate is the one that got more votes, not less votes in red districts, but it turns out you, being the progressive, got more votes than that person.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about your race a little bit more. So you didn't take corporate PAC money, but I know that the fundraising was going well from small donors all across the country. I don't know the particulars of your race. Who had more money, you or your Republican opponent?
Well, we outraised him in the last 2 quarters. And actually, I don't know the final numbers for him, but ours came in at about 2.6 million. So we raised enough to be very competitive in this race, and that was with no corporate PAC money.
Okay, that's amazing. You see, it can be done. Before, it was just at the presidential level. Well, okay, Bernie Sanders, but that was an anomaly, everybody thought. No, raising $2.6 million from small donors for a congressional race in the middle of Nebraska, that's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, if anything, Kara, you absolutely positively proved you don't need corporate PAC money to run a real race. And so, thank you for that. So, at the end of the day, you wind up losing by 3 points. So, what do you think went wrong?
Well, I think that what we saw was that turnout was up across the board, but it was up for the Republicans. I mean, what I really think went wrong was the fact that our district had been so gerrymandered. So if you look at the percentage, the Republican advantage in this district is about 3%. And so people voted party line, and it's because of that gerrymandering, and which shows why we need to change the way that we do redistricting. Yeah,
totally agreed on that. And so I'm curious, because you're on the ground, what your take is here. Did all the caravan talk, Kavanaugh, I don't know if you got a sense for it. Did any one of those particular issues make a difference? Or no, Republicans always show up to vote, and Democrats, you just got to push to get even with the Republicans on voter turnout?
Yeah, it's hard for us to say because we were really targeting Democrats and independents. But what we saw in the district was enthusiasm at a level that I've never seen since living here over 12 years, and that people have told me they haven't seen in decades. And so we know that we at least ignited the base, which I think is really important. And most importantly, we ran a campaign that I'm really proud of. We knocked on over 200,000 doors. We went to people and talked to them, and we did it in a way that was very positive. And at the end of the day, like, I'm just proud of what we did.
How many volunteers did you have, Kara?
Over 800.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So Look, you got to remember, people like Kara, when they started, they didn't have anything. I mean, did you have any infrastructure? In fact, let's talk about that for a second, Kara. How did you get started? Remind people, like, how did you get into the race in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I decided to run because of my mom and her outrageous prescription drug costs, and literally went to a friend of mine. We had worked together in nonprofit fundraising and said, "Would you want to do this with me?" And he said, "Sure." So he gave up his job, I gave up mine, and we started fundraising together and slowly built this insurgent campaign that was amazing. I mean, we really did put together a very scrappy bunch. We didn't have very many politicos or people who had been involved in national campaigns before. And my campaign chair actually had been. He was somebody that's been involved in Nebraska politics for a long time, but also he had been out of the game for a while. So it was a great group to put together. We have incredible organizers and canvassers, and people came out of the woodwork because they were excited about having a candidate who was standing up and fighting for things that they care about, like healthcare and education.
So I don't remember the particulars of this either. When and how did you join the Just Democrats?
I was endorsed by them in the primary, and we had decided early on that it felt a little out of step with the campaign and also who I am, and just this idea that if we want to get money out of politics, taking money from corporations doesn't make a lot of sense. And so it seemed like the right fit for the campaign, and so they endorsed us early on. And I'm grateful for the support of them and the PCCC and people who just came on early and took a chance on somebody like me running.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the PCCC and other groups as well too. So keeping it real, who helped the most? I don't mean between PCCC right. and Just Democrats. I don't need you to say, well, they were 51, the other one was 49. But like overall, which progressive groups helped the most in your campaign?
Well, I mean, the PCCC was there all along, and so I'm really grateful to Adam and Stephanie and everyone there for their support. Throughout the campaign, groups like NARAL and Planned Parenthood and Emily's List, I mean, they helped, but I think it's really Justice Democrats, PCCC, Vote Pro-Choice, those groups that came on early that we saw do a lot. And I had over 20 union endorsements, so I think that helped too. I mean, I'm grateful for all of the support that I had. Again, people took a chance on somebody like me running. I was never projected to win the primary nor the general election, but I think more people like me need to run because we need to save this country and we need to do it now.
So, Kara, what would you do differently? Like if we were going to run the race again, how do we get that extra 3 points?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know that there's anything that we could have done differently. We knocked on doors. We were on TV. My face is all over this district. I'm incredibly recognizable these days. We did mail. We did digital. We did all the stuff that you could do. And I think we put out a great platform and we talked to voters and met them where they were. We didn't pander to people. We didn't talk down to people. I'm bilingual, so we did stuff in English and Spanish. I mean, we killed it. It's just, when you have a gerrymandered district and when you have strong Republican turnout, and I think there was just a lot of enthusiasm on the Republican side, and perhaps that was because of the president, and perhaps it was because of Kavanaugh. But maybe we just also gave Republicans something to vote against.
Yeah, Kara, that's interesting because look, to Trump's credit, and I can't believe I'm beginning a sentence that way, he does excite his base, and he tried like hell in the last couple of weeks. He's incredibly lazy, but he likes his rallies, and he tried really hard to get out the vote. Are we missing a Democratic leader that has as strong a voice that drives our voters to go out vote?
I don't know. I mean, I think that remains to be seen. But the reality is, that my opponent his voting record has been almost 100% with the party. He's never been outspoken against the president, and it worked. People seem to like it, and that's really disheartening, and it breaks my heart in a lot of ways. But I think the reality is we need to continue giving voters something to vote for, and that's what we felt like we put out. We never ran against Trump. We never ran against my opponent. We really felt like we were running for the country and for the people who have no voice. And so I think that I'm proud of that message. I'm proud that we stuck to our message. We talked about healthcare. We talked about the environment, education, safe schools, and really tried to never veer from that. And I think that was in part what made us as successful as we were.
So, Kara, one more thing about the groups, because there's some corporatist, centrist Democratic groups that have both criticized you and tried to take credit for you. A little bit bizarre. So, How was that game played?
I don't really know. I mean, I think that it would be hard to take credit for me at this point because I was a free agent from the beginning, and at the same time, like I said, I'm grateful for the support that we did have. I'm having a hard time even wrapping my brain around some of the things that happened over the last couple of weeks, and obviously the night of the election. But one thing we do know is that all of the returns haven't come in, so we still have provisional ballots. We still have the ballots that were dropped in the day of the election that will be counted tomorrow, and we're hoping to close that margin a little bit because, again, I think most importantly, we proved that somebody running on a real message about hope and change for real working people can resonate and have an impact. And I think the other thing to point out is that in Nebraska, we expanded Medicaid on Tuesday, and I think that is an incredible thing, and I like to think that I may have helped with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kara, super last thing. Are we going to do it again?
Oh, God, I have no idea. Not there.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
All right, Kara Eastman, thank you for fighting for all of us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care.
Like what you see? I hope so. Thank you. So click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from Rebel HQ.